Hello, everyone. So today we're here to discuss about measuring and optimizing systems of value creation. Let's take the time to discuss a little bit about service delivery performance. My name is Marcio Sete. I'm from Australia. I'm a principal consultant at Elaborate. I've been working for the last 5 years um, leading and executing transformation initiatives across the most iconic Australian brands, which has been exposing me to a wide range of value streams, operating model, organizational design, and cultures. And today I want to take the opportunity to share a bit some insights, um, and especially around the service delivery performance. So I want to take this opportunity to reimagine service delivery performance. And to do that, before I think we need to look, what is the current state? What is the state of play? So I try to get like a few points here to support us. The first one is that today, from where I stand, what I'm seeing is that performance is seen as an output measure of individuals and teams, like completely like inward looking, completely disassociated from value and disconnected from customer needs. Another thing that I see commonly is that strong belief that if you optimize the parts of the system, we will produce an optimized whole, right? So trying to doing that local optimizations across different teams without concern to how that's affecting the overall system performance. The other thing is that we see commonly teams and organizations estimate in a deterministic way things that are full of uncertainty and unknowns, and then really rely on their intuition and faith. The other thing I see strongly happening is that, like, this management paradigm, this established management paradigm focused on resource efficiency. So we see organizations really trying to maximize the utilization of individuals, of specialists, of teams, of resources, and again, without concerns to how that's affecting the system as a whole. And also, we see a lack of actionable performance data to support decision making, to support, like, supporting the teams to shape new behaviors. And yeah, so this is, like, I think it's a good summary of current state of delivery performance we see. So what I wanted to do today with you is to take a moment to reimagine service delivery performance. How can we look uh, that from a different angle? And I would like to do that using like a few principles. The first one is about being customer centric. So performance must be seen from the customer perspective, shifting the purpose of teams from executing tasks to satisfying customer needs. So from the moment that you shift that perspective, you stop discussing like performance from an internal perspective. How many story points can you deliver? Like, what's your velocity? Like things that are internal, and you shift that perspective to the customer, and then you start looking, what is my customer lead time? What is the predictability of that lead time? What is the quality I'm serving the customer? What is the predictability of that quality, etc.? Uh, just by doing this movement, this shift, like the purpose of the teams automatically shifts. Like it changes from just being a group of people that are just like executing tasks without concerns to the big picture, to being someone like a group of people that is there to satisfy the customer needs. So I think you should focus on what matters most to your customer, like things like their selection criteria, like things that are important for them. Like universal selection criteria would be your lead time and the prediction time, like your delivery rate, your throughput, how much can you deliver in a period of time, and what's the predictability of that throughput, and what's the quality you can deliver, and what's the predictability of that quality. So I think these help us to look performance from different angle, and then I will bring some examples here to kind of pollinate the conversation, to bring food for thought. So what I want to do here is to show you some interesting things you could do to do that. So imagine like your team delivering like different services for your organization, for whoever is your customer at the moment. So one example could be you're delivering like new product features, or you're delivering fixes, enhancements, and optimizations, or hot fix, for instance. Let's say that's your service catalog, for instance. And what is the service level expectation? What your customer expects from you in terms of performance in that type of service? So let's say new product features, they would expect you to deliver new product features in 30 days or less, for instance. Or fix and optimization 10 days or less, hot fixes 1 day or less. And in here, you could say, what is the predictability? What's your service level that you can? What are the chances you can meet that expectation? So 76%, for instance, in new product features that you can hit 30 days or less. So in 76% of the cases, you were able to satisfy the customer expectation of 30 days or less, 82% in fix and optimizations, for instance, and hotfix. So if you're discussing service level expectation and predictability, that needs to be towards a target. And the best target is the customer expectation, right? So another thing that's important is the predictability of your quality. What's your defect rate on that type of service when you're providing, right? Another way of looking is that when we look the lead time distribution, you could inform your customer, look, 55 days or less were required to complete 85% of new product features, for instance. So you're saying that's the 85th percentile of my lead time distribution. So if you want to have like a high level of certainty, you should probably consider 55 days. If you are comfortable dealing with a service level of 76%, like a confidence level of 76%, maybe then you can consider 30 days. Another thing that's important is when we look at the delivery rate. And so imagine that's your like throughput per week, for instance. So you're measuring throughput per week. And then also on the horizontal line here, you can see what is the confidence level for your delivery rate. So there you're saying you have 85% of confidence that you can deliver at least 8 product features, or you have confidence that you can deliver at least 17 product features per week, or units of work per week, whatever it is. So I think that becomes really useful and important when you're kind of like working in a larger initiative that like you have that cross dependency, that dependency across multiple teams working the same product, for instance, or even dependency cross products. And then you need to have a certain level of certainty that you rely on that team to do their bit so you can deliver your functionality. So you might need to have like a different class of service that will be either like a guaranteed or standby or something. So that like, what is the minimal level that I can count on you to deliver? And then I might get some of that capacity, reserve that capacity for a specific week where I need you to do like one of the works that I depend on to deliver my my initiative or my work, whatever it is. Cool. Another principle would be that contextual analysis. So service delivery performance is extremely contextual. So for any data set to be meaningful, your data needs to be filtered and aggregated. So if you're looking at your data and then you're aggregating, putting everything in one basket and then try to extract insights from there, like really you're flying blindly. So for you to get any meaningful data when you're looking service delivery performance, you need to you need to make that really contextual to that situation you want to extract insights. So it's really important to filter and aggregate your data. So like common aggregations would be like either like a what's the portfolio level. You could be looking your data from a portfolio perspective, from a product perspective, from a team level perspective. So this is one way of slicing your data set and filtering. Another way is by looking for a specific, I want to look for a specific team or a specific service team. And I want to look for a specific type of demand and a specific class of service. And I might want to look in a specific period of time. So imagine that like everything you see will change in relation to the filters that you apply. So here is an example where imagine like you are looking all these different perspectives of flow, and then you can be applying different filters on the fly, and then the data that you are looking would be transforming in relation, responding to the filters that you're applying. So imagine that you have the same output regardless the context that you apply, but the data is changing. So you can be looking your lead time distribution for one type of service, and then you can specialize that lead time distribution for a specific class of service, and then you can specialize that for one specific team, etc. So I think this is really important when you are dealing with your data. Another principle is thinking systems. So visualizing, measuring the interaction between the parts of your system will bring you far more insights than visualizing, measuring individual outputs. So it's really important to focus on the interconnections of your system, understanding where are the handovers, what am I like what are my pull uh, pull rates across different stages of the workflow, how much uh, how much queue I have between those handovers, how long are those queues for, and you try to understand where the key source of delay, where are the bottlenecks of your value stream of your process. So we never know when you're trying to use data as kind of like a debugging tool to understand how the system is performing, where are the biggest insights that will drive you towards like finding the most powerful interventions you can make on that system in order to improve performance, predictability, and flow. We need to be able to look performance from different angles, from different perspectives. So you can't just look lead time, for instance. You can't just look your flow efficiency, for instance, or your quality, or the rate, your arrival and departure rates of your system, etc. You need to be able to look your system from completely different angles, because we never know where the insights will come from, right? And then depending on the level and the context that you are like applying on your data, like insights might come from like place that you expect that the least. So and commonly that will not come just from one place. That will come from the insights will come from a combination of different perspectives. So you look, wow, my lead time is reducing, that looks good. But then you look your quality, the amount of failure damage that you start getting, like, and that's skyrocketing. So you know what I mean? So you need to be looking your system from different perspectives and making sure that you're like looking like the different sides of the same coin. So you make sure that you're not like local optimizing for one perspective and then having like a undesired effect on the system as a whole. Another principle that is about shared consciousness. Um, so if you really want to use data to improve performance, predictability, and flow, it's really important to have like a shared understanding across the organization or the level, like the teams that are working to satisfy the customer need. I mean, so like shared understanding about like how the system works, how the work flows through the value stream. They have that shared mental model. They have a common language to discuss delivery performance. And given that we have that, like that helps teams to shape new collective behavior. It could be understanding how the system is behaving and which type of interventions they need to make in a team level. It could be defining new explicit policies. It could be new pool transaction policies. It could be redefining some WIP limits and like applying new ways of doing that replenishment meeting or whatever it could be. But also enables the leadership to determine like what the most impactful interventions they can make to improve that system of value creation. So I want to share like some like insights like that I've been doing, and I think that might help as well for you. One is like, how can you help create like that shared understanding and common language? And I think what has been working for me is just like, it's about having conversation. It's about like talking about that, finding forums where you can talk about that. It could be like, just like hijacking one of the team retrospectives, or it could be talking about that in a town hall, or it could be hosting lunch and learns, or it could be like a night talk or something. If you are interested on like getting people across, creating awareness and desire to know more and to be part of that, to understand like a look performs from a different perspective, like you should just get the message out there. And just by hosting conversations, you'd be surprised by how many people would show up and listen to you, and then the conversation would just start, and like a positive spiral would take place, and people would just start talking about it, and more and more people would get involved. Another thing that I found really useful to create awareness and create that shared understanding of what's happening is what I call the service delivery performance baseline. And I've been doing that with like a few organizations, quite a few organizations here in Australia, in different industries. So imagine that you have your data right somewhere. It could be on Jira, Azure boards, Trello. It could be in an Excel spreadsheet, like whatever. Like imagine you take your data and you don't need much. Like really, what you need here is like start date and finish date. If you have start date and finish date for every unit of work, like it's impressive how much insights you can extract just from that. So what you can do is take your data, run a quick analysis of what is the lead time, and then what is the lead time, how the lead time distribution look like. So you could find that like your lead time is varying from, I don't know, from 1 to 300 days. You know what I mean? But then you would ask yourself like how that distribution from 1 to 300 days look like, and then you could put together like a quick histogram to understand what is the shape of that distribution, and then look like a scatter plot to understand how that like a time horizon view of how that is taking place. And I mean, just trying to look your data not from a team perspective, from an internal perspective, but look from your customer perspective. What is the customer lead time? What's the predictability of that lead time? What is the quality, predictability of quality? What's the delivery rate? What's the predictability of the delivery rate? What is the flow efficiency, etc. So by doing that, let's say you take like a few hours, and then you do an exercise just using Excel, for instance, and you put a bunch of charts together, and then you play that back to your team. And then what I commonly see, like, are there a bunch of like aha moments happening? It seems that that's the first time they are exposed to their own data, looking from the customer perspective, and that just triggers like a bunch of conversation, and like a from that view, lots of questions start emerging, and this is the this is what is valuable here, because this is not designed to bring you answers, that's designed to bring you questions. So by exposing your data to your team, like, or to a team of teams, they will start looking at the data and then start asking questions. Why is that the late time? Why is that the predictability level? What's happening? Why do we have that that SEPs level? How might we do this? How much we do that? And then just questions will start emerging. So this is a very good exercise, and then that you can do quickly, and by setting the baseline, by like taking a dump of your data, playing with that, and then getting like some metrics and analytics out of that, you are setting a baseline where you can start using uh, for continuous improvement. So you can start using that to have data-driven continuous improvement. So you might be asking, like, what would happen if we would remove that queue from the system? What would happen if you would change the WIP limits in that stage of the workflow? What would happen if we would not have any more expedites, and so on and so forth? And then you could then start measuring your future performance and comparing with the baseline to understand how much you are improving. Um, so the baseline is really good, but it has a problem that's static, right? Is a one-off, is a dump, a snapshot. So you can't use the baseline for as a feedback loop mechanism to understand, like we just changed some behaviors here. How is that reflecting? You know what I mean? So would be great to have like live data. So every day in a rolling window, I could have insights from yesterday. You know what I mean? So today I'm bringing the yesterday data point to the data set and discarding the first one over there. So I've done a few of those using different tools. Like, this is an example of Power BI, and we've done that in using Tableau and other different tools. So regardless of your output tool, like, you'd be surprised how quickly you can plug and play these analytic tools to your data source, to your Jira, to your Azure boards, and then just play with the metrics, and you'd be surprised. So this is an example using Power BI, and then this is a different example where we will play with Azure boards and consuming the data from the API, and then just playing with visualization and looking from different perspectives. So connecting, having a live view that you can have that dynamic analysis of your data comes a long way to help build that shared understanding, and that shared mental model where everyone have the same information at the same time, and then they know what the information means, and they know like how to use that to drive continuous improvement. Another thing that helps a lot is to start hosting two of the Kanban events, one called Service Delivery Review and the other one called Operations Review. So on the Service Delivery Review, that's really like on the team level, when you stop to reflect how your output is serving your customer. So you look again from your customer perspective and look like, the work that we are doing, how well are we serving our customer? How satisfied is our customer with our service level? How can we improve? Is our lead time good enough? Like, is our quality good enough? Like, how can we reduce the customer lead time? How can we increase throughput rate, delivery rate? So that will be really looking from like a team, a system perspective, a service delivery perspective. And the operations review, we expand the scope to a more broader view, have a more holistic view, where we bring different services that combined, they are serving like um, a customer need. So let's say you have a value stream which is made out of like a set of interconnected services, and then that's the time where all those different services they come together. And now instead of looking how can we optimize ourselves, we are looking how can we optimize the system as a whole. So we are discussing like like where are the key sources of delay in the value stream? Like, where are the most problematic handovers across the stages of the workflow, across different teams or services? How can we improve that to have like a better end-to-end service? So those two ceremonies, they really help a lot to create awareness, shared understanding, common language, and then to be everyone focused on satisfying the customer need. Everyone working towards a common goal. Good. The last one, or the next one, will be probabilistic forecast. So we see organizations having so rich data sets that they are not using to provide any insights for the business, to help them forecast, to help them to like support decision making, etc. So if you're working in any work item management tool, like you have lots of rich data you could use. So one thing that we believe is that like teams should be leveraging their existing data and then using statistical and probabilistic approaches to forecast, and stop having like that like deterministic approach to forecast, to like doing estimation in a deterministic way, uh, and then using effort to estimate in a deterministic way, and start looking at lapse time in a probabilistic way, because that's what actually matters for your customer. So when we are talking about like probabilistic forecast, a common method that we use is the Monte Carlo method. And when using the Monte Carlo method with your data, it helps us to like, among other things, answer two main questions. The first one is how many. So given that I have a bit of time, how many work items is likely to get done? So let's say like your organization have like a fixed release date, or you're working with Safe and using like product increments of 3 months, for instance. So given you have like a start date and a finish date, so your question would be, how much work can I get done? And we will do the forecast, but bringing the probability together. So we would say you have 95% of confidence, like this one real example like we did. So they had 95% of confidence they could deliver 45 user stories in that example. 85% they could deliver 109 user stories, and a 50% of confidence they could deliver 254 user stories. So as you see, as the amount of user stories increase, the likelihood decreases, right? So that's the probabilistic forecast. So we are not giving like one deterministic number. We are giving ranges, and then with probability associated with ranges. So the second question the Monte Carlo can help us to answer is when. So given that I have this batch of work, it could be, I don't know, like a new epic on your product roadmap or something. When is that likely to get done? So here, let's say I have a batch of work that would have like 139 user stories, for instance. Given that we start on this date, when is likely that their work would be finished by? So 50% of confidence they would finish by 7th of June, 85% of confidence that would be by September, 95% of chance would be by Feb to the next year. So here again, as the 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 time expands, now the likelihood increases, right? So if you have like a Jira board, if you have like an Azure board, if you have a Trello board, and then you have the date in which the cart was closed, just by having the date the card was closed, you could benefit from your data to run probabilistic forecasts like these. And then that's a way of visualizing that that forecast visually. So that's the how many question. So we see the probability, the simulation will get like a range of results, and then we can see where the 50, 85th, and 95th percentile sits on that distribution. And the same thing for when we ask when. So we have like a distribution, and then we can see where those dates sits on that distribution. So really, if you have like work item data available, you should be leveraging that data and start playing with probabilistic forecast and leverage your data. You get a much more accurate forecast in a fraction of the time that you use to do estimations with your team. And that's the last bit. So that's about flow efficiency. The principle like is, well, we work in a knowledge work industry, right? And in the knowledge work industry, the most appropriate type of efficiency is the one in which customer value flows through a value stream to satisfy customer need. So we have two major types of efficiency, one being resource efficiency, where we are focused on maximizing the utilization of resources. And the second one is the flow efficiency, where we are focused on maximizing the utilization of the work. Like, we don't want to keep people busy, we want to keep their work busy. So in the second one, we really focus on keeping the work busy, and then making sure that the work is not idling queues, and we have that start and finish happening. So work coming in and out, so that we have that system in a state of flow. So if you're not familiar with flow efficiency, so flow efficiency really looks like how much time, like value-added time, you have dedicated to a unit of work across over the lead time, the total time. So imagine that we did a unit, like a piece of work. So we had a committed date here, and then we had a delivery date there, and then like within that elapsed time, like we had like some portion of the time we sit down and we were working and cracking the problem and satisfying that that demand. But every now and then we got interrupted by something, and then the work now was idling, was accumulating waiting time, and then we came back again, we did some more work, we were either blocked or we moved to a different thing, and then we came back, and then we stopped again, and eventually we finished the work, right? So let's say in this example here, let's say we had a total lead time, elapsed time of 20 days. And let's say that we just actually worked on that card for 4 days. The rest of the time, the 16 days, the card was just waiting for testing, waiting for delivery, waiting for peer review, waiting for, all the waiting columns we have in the process. So in that case, 20% would be value-added time, 80% would be waiting time. So this is your flow efficiency. So your flow efficiency in that case would be 20%, which means that 80% of the time the work was just waiting in someone's queue, in some team's queue. So the shocking reality here is that when we look across the board on average, like the work is idling queues for up like over 85% of the time, and that's just shocking. So if waiting time is expanding, lead time is expanding. If lead time is expanding, like we have like a bag of problems that comes together with that. So by focus on flow efficiency, by focus on identifying, looking the value stream and understanding how much, where are the key sources of delay, how can we tackle the source of delay, remove those delays, we can short the lead time, and then we can enable that system to start doing build measure learning cycles, so that they can learn more from their customer and then deliver better solutions. So if you look which are the big sources of delay, the top one is like your operating model design, like value streams that are designed to operate with several handovers, like the product team upstream that goes to the architect team, and that goes to the dev team, that goes to the QA team, that goes to the release team, and then it goes, you know what I mean? Like that operating model design that's based on handovers, where the deliverables of the previous one corresponds to a specialization of the process, or where each stage means a specialization of the process. That's the biggest source of delay. Like across every handover, you're going to have a queue, and it's likely to be a long queue. The second one are dependencies. So if you're not working like your value stream, your operating model is not designed around the customer, it's likely that you're gonna have that just web of dependencies across individuals, across teams within the same product, across products. So dependencies are the second biggest source of delay. The third one is too much work in progress. So we just have like a too much work, and then we are pivoting across different work all the time, and like work are like receiving attention just a little bit, waiting for a long time, receiving attention for a little bit, waiting for a long time. The team liquidity, like that, like super specialization. So I just do this type of work, he just do that type of work, she does just that type of work. So if you have highly specialized individuals or teams, it's likely that the waiting time will increase. Manual and repetitive work is also like a big source of delay. Manual testing, manual deployment, like all everything that's high volume and repetitive, that will cause delays. And early commitment is also another one. When we start clocking the lead time, we commit to a unit of work when we are not actually ready for that, and the work is just idling and waiting the initial queue for a long time before starting. And the last one would be blockers. So when something that's like we're not in control. So if you look the top 7 source of delay, you can see that the top 6 are by design, are something that you are in control of, like you can change. By design, you can evolve your system through evolutionary changes to improve it, right? So yeah, so just to finish, I wanted to share like a repeatable pattern that has been working for me, and in a case study as well. When we are helping different organizations here in Australia. So the first thing, as I said on the beginning, was like just create awareness, like try to create awareness and interest on different ways of measuring and looking your system, right? So it could, as I said, it could be from many different ways. It could be via talks, and could be um, uh, like just having conversations with like a P2P and small teams and larger teams. And then doing the self-delivery performance baseline, when you get your data, you do some analysis, you extract some metrics and analytics looking from the customer perspective, and you share that information. That causes a lot of like a positive traction and energy in the teams. I've seen that. And then you might want to like walk your value stream and try to understand why the system is behaving the way it is behaving. So you might want to add like a narrative back on the data to support like your numbers. So while we have that lead time, and that's the likely cause, and that's why we have delays here and there, you try to map your like the current way of working to the data, so you have that narrative happening. And then once like the momentum is growing, you might find a way of having that dynamic analysis. So you have like on-demand metrics like connected to your data source. Like there are multiple ways of doing that. You have like a bunch of very good SaaS tools on the market today that you can plug and play, get your metrics, or if you like playing with numbers, like just use like Google Sheets, Excel. You could also plug that in a Power BI, in a Tableau or something. Like it's not hard to get like live data and then use that as a continuous feedback loop mechanism. And then once you get it, you might want to have like someone playing the role of a service delivery manager, someone that's really focused on the service delivery aspect of that value stream. Like how well are we serving the customer? Like what's our service level? How can we improve our service level, etc. So, and then you might start hosting like meetings, events like operations review, service delivery review to increase awareness and find where are the most appropriate place you can make interventions and run evolutionary changes. So that's a repeatable pattern that's working quite well for us here in Australia. And like I just wanted to share one case study which was in a one neobank in Australia in their digital division. So we did the baseline to understand how they were performing, and then we got some insights to what was causing that system behavior, and then we just start doing the journey we said, and then after 26 weeks, we went back to measure again, and that's the result we got. So they managed to reduce lead time up to 69%. That's just impressive. Their predictability level had increased like to 54 percentage points, which is also like massive. The value demand improved from 31 to 65%, and the failure demand reduced from 69 to 35%. So if you look, they pretty much shift the ratio of value demand and failure demand in just 26 weeks. So that's like 6 months pretty much, right? So their WIP age has reduced like 61%, and their WIP also reduced 86%, which helped them to bring the amount of WIP in the system to a sustainable level. So again, just by looking your data, observing your data from your customer perspective, having your data there as a feedback loop mechanism, and creating awareness and shared understanding across your organization, that's the sort of results you can get in such a short period of time. So to finalize, what I want you to remember, I think like those 6 principles could be a good food for thought and could be a good conversation started for your team, for your organization, for your value stream. So in the next retrospective, you might want to bring like some of these and then talk about that. And then that might be the starting point of your journey. So remember to look your delivery performance from your customer perspective. Remember, like your data is only meaningful if it is contextual. Remember to do different initiatives to create shared consciousness across your organization. Thinking systems, not in elements. So focus on more on the interconnection, on the interaction between the elements of the system instead of the output of the individual parts of your system. Try to leverage your data and use that to run probabilistic forecast. And then if you need to focus on efficiency, please in knowledge work choose to focus on flow efficiency. And that's my message to you today. And thank you very much. Those are my contacts, and feel free to reach out and keep the conversation going. Thank you very much.